if we start judging, this is where we live in the age of no wisdom. We're going to start judging people by what they say privately? Oh, man, we're all screwed.
Oh, yeah, everybody's screwed.
Everybody's
screwed. Well,
that means you can never vent to your wife or your husband. You have to watch every word you say to your wife or husband about anything you think about. You can't, because you will be recorded.
Well, that's this. Oh my God, this is a Dennis and Julie episode unto its own, because when people vent in private, a lot of the times they are going to say something that is wildly exaggerated.
Yes, that's right.
Because
yes.
every human being knows this. When you're mad at your boss, or you're mad at your friend or your spouse, you go, this person is such a blank. Sometimes you just have to let it out.
Or how about, I feel like killing him?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Of course.
Are you really going to do it? Of course. Are you nuts?
But there's no like, this whole privacy point is so important. And, the biggest example of it is that we now on college campuses, and not just on college campuses, but in the workplace, just generally in American society, people's opinions are taken to be their affirmative stances, like for perpetuity on the subject. And I remember in college, all of us sort of felt like if we were in a discussion, you would be really careful about what you said, because then you would be understood as the person who believed what it is that you said about the subject. And yes, of course, you have to stand by your words. But this is the thing I am so adamant about. I wish I could scream it from the rooftops. Part of growing intellectually is saying something that actually you may not fully believe, but kind of throwing it out there and testing it. You know how many times on Dennis and Julie, let me just tell you, I have had like a, 80% of the way there theory about something, or a 90%, or even like a 60% of the way there. And you know what I've done? I've said, I've been thinking about this lately. I'd like to offer it for your consideration. I've thrown it out here, and we've bounced it off each other. And maybe by the end of the episode, I'm a little different. Now, people ask me all the time, why do you put your face on the internet at 24? What if your beliefs change? And then your face is on the internet having said things that you don't no longer believe. You know, my response to them is, okay, then my face is on the internet saying things that I no longer believe. Big whoop. Am I not allowed to evolve? How do you evolve without pushing the boundaries a bit?
The reason that I'm silent and smiling is because I so deeply relate to that. And okay, this will tick people off. That you have realized this at your age is very impressive.
But I don't fear the cancel culture mob. I don't.
Correct.
I don't fear them,
it's
because
all fear.
Guess what? That is such a good point. It is all fear.
It's all fear. I have all of my life.
Down.
I have taken risks with positions.
Yes.
With ideas, with behavior. Do you know how nervous I was? And I very rarely get nervous. I mean, if you told me I would speak to 40 million people, I could eat an apple while doing it. It has no effect. But I was really nervous the first time I conducted an orchestra. Mm-hmm. I am not a professional musician. I am an avid amateur. I have obviously somewhat accomplished, or it couldn't have happened. But I knew every one of those musicians is a pro, and I'm not.
Yes.
And a fully rational decision might have been, Dennis, keep conducting your audio system. Don't stand in front of real musicians and conduct. Mm-hmm. That would have been a much more rational thing. Mm. All of my life has been the risk taking. Oh, you'll love this. Oh, this is one of my favorite stories. At the age of 24, your age, I said to Joseph Telushkin, also 24, we've known each other since high school, said, Joseph, wherever I go, I had already begun giving speeches. And I said, I get the same questions, because then my speeches were within Jewish life. And I said, Joseph, I get the same questions. We should write a brochure answering the questions people have about Judaism. A brochure. I thought we could do it over a weekend. Anyway, we ended up writing a 200-something page book.
I love that.
And it took 2 years. But it doesn't matter. That's not the point I'm making. Here's the point. So Joseph tells his mother, he was very close to his late mom, she was a very special woman, that, Mom, Dennis and I want to write a book, an introduction to Judaism. Her reaction was a completely rational one. She said, Joseph, you two are 24 years old. Some of the finest rabbinic minds have written introductions to Judaism. What are you going to say that they didn't? So Joseph came back to me and he goes, Dennis, what do I tell my mother? And I said, tell your mother that we will write the best introduction to Judaism, at least in English, that has been written. I
love that story.
And it turned out we did. It's still in print 45 years later, and it's the best-selling introduction to Judaism in the English language. And it deserves to be. But it was a risk. I'll tell you how big a risk. We published it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so it was money out of our pockets to publish it, to typeset it, to print it, to bind it, to select the paper. It was, and neither of us was rich, to say the least. It was a risk to conduct the orchestra. So many of the things I've written were risks. Just what you're saying, I threw out ideas. And I knew when I wrote it, I might be wrong, but how am I going to know it if I don't get feedback?
Absolutely. It's so true. It's like I learn the most from when I say something and when I throw something out there, and I was partially wrong, or I didn't consider something and someone pointed it out to me. Those things are seared in my memory. And that is what has allowed me to grow. It's just so sad now, the amount of sludge that is thrown at people. I mean, I remember when I was starting this job, people said to me, you're crazy. You're crazy. Why would you put your face on the internet saying these incredibly controversial things? Let's say you fail at it. Goldman Sachs isn't going to hire you. Not that I want to be hired by Goldman Sachs, just for the record.
No, but that's right.
People would say to me,
that's a perfect example.
They would go,
not even. What if you're wrong?
Yeah.
What if you say something that really hurts you?
Well, totally. But people would say that there are so many places that won't hire you. There are people who won't want to associate with you. And my response to them was, you're right. And that's true right now. I mean, if I decide to pivot, and I'm not pivoting, I'm staying right here. But if I ever decide to pivot, there are a lot of places that won't hire me.
That's right.
Of course, because of what I've done. There are a lot of, there already are a lot of people who won't associate.
All they need to know is, so Dennis and Julia, who exactly was the Dennis?
I'll be like, we can keep that detail private for now. But are you telling me that even if that's the case, that this wasn't worth it? Of course this was and is worth it. Not even a bleeping question.
The lesson here. Okay, go on.
No, I'll just say quickly. I want to hear what you think the lesson is, but I think the lesson is don't fear not only woke cancel culture, because that was the genesis of this discussion, that people fear in class pushing the boundaries, but sort of like life cancel culture.
That's right.
Failure.
That's right. That was it. You took the words. I'm glad I didn't interrupt.
You were going to say life cancel culture?
No, I was going to say don't fear failure.
Yeah.
You won't succeed if you fear failing. It may even sound like a cliche. I'll live with that. But that is the answer. I'll tell you, by the way, and there are times I did get in trouble.
There have been times I've gotten in trouble too.
Well,
so what are you referring to?
I mean,
the Quran thing?
Yeah. I mean, I
But that
was
doesn't mean you were wrong. I don't think you were wrong on that.
Well, I was wrong with one line.
What did you say?
There was one line in my essay that I wish I had not written. The essay was, well, for those who don't know, this is, how many years ago was that? 15 years ago? When Keith Ellison was, he's now Attorney General of Minnesota. He's a left-wing Democrat, and he was congressman. He was a congressman from Minnesota, and he was going to take his oath on the Quran. And and it would have been, I think it was going to be the first time that a congressman or senator or president was not going to use the Bible. I know that there were a few cases of presidents, like, for example, Teddy Roosevelt, after McKinley was assassinated, they couldn't find a Bible. Or one president thought that it's sacrilegious to use the Bible, but
Really?
believed in
Who?
it. An early president, I don't remember.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. He thought this is a secular role president, so I don't want to confuse the two, but it was out of reverence to the Bible. It was
I
not
see.
out of rejecting it.
I see.
Nobody's ever rejected it. So he says, "I'm not doing the Bible. I'm doing the Quran." And I wrote that as far as oaths are concerned, the Bible is America's book, and has always been. And I even said, I don't believe in the New Testament. That is not my Bible. That is the Christian Bible.
Right.
But I would take an oath if I were elected. I would take an oath on the Bible, which it includes the Old and New Testaments.
Because this is our
Because
civilization.
this is my civilization. I am honoring my society. That is correct. The people who made the freest country in the world believed in the Old and the New Testaments. Mm-hmm. So I honor them by doing it. You should honor them. And I even said I have such great admiration for Mormons. I wrote that in my column. But if a Mormon said, I'm not going to use the Bible, I'll only use the Book of Mormon, I would have objected then too. This has nothing to do with your being Muslim. But I did, and everything I wrote is legit. But I got in trouble for one line.
Oh, no.
He should not be allowed to do it, I wrote. And that...
Okay, that was wrong.
It was wrong, right? But okay, of course. But look,
No, but
I'm on the right. I'm attacking a guy who's he's a member of two victim groups, Black and Muslim, and here I am, white Jew, saying that. Oh man.
no, what you got, the flack that you got for it, in my opinion, was undeserved. I mean, I was like 5 years old, so I don't remember this, but I'm saying, learning about it in recent years, I think that was really unfair. But I want you to notice the way that I said, okay, that was wrong. Okay, that was wrong.
That's right.
That's
exactly right. One line. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that people need to understand with themselves and with others. Nobody's perfect. Like people are
Right,
going
but
to be wrong.
Right. But if you don't risk wrong,
Yes.
you don't risk failure, you can't succeed. I want to get back to that. That's the point that
Yes.
you and I are making.